I want to start today with LSU football. The news was so fresh to us yesterday at the end of the press conference that I don't think I fully had time to digest it and really talk about what went on and what is going to happen with this football team in terms of the quarterback position. Kind of unprecedented, I think, for the way that Ed Orgeron described it. You come back off that game Sunday, the backup quarterback walks into the office, says, "I want to play." Dad makes a phone call and says, "We want to play." And the coaching staff says, "All right, well, then you're going to play." And I think that it wasn't necessarily a situation. Well, this is my read on it anyway, and I'll see what you think. My read on it is that they had communicated, the Nussmeiers had communicated to LSU, we want to preserve the red shirt if possible. And so you can only play in 4 games if that's the case. He's played in 3. So 2 more would mean you lose the red shirt. And so if you throw him out there in mop-up time, and then there's an injury over the last month of the season for a play or a chin strap comes off, he's got to come in and burn that red shirt. They didn't want to burn it in mop-up time and because of an injury. They wanted to either keep that red shirt or play. And if the opportunity is there to play, they want to play, and that's what's going to happen on Saturday. So, Jeremy, you didn't deal with the quarterback controversy at LSU, and then obviously you're not going to deal with that much in the NFL with the 2 teams that you played for, had some entrenched starters. But do you think that the team cares who's playing quarterback?
It just depends, man. It depends on the locker room. I know when I was in Cincinnati, Andy Dalton got hurt and McCarron stepped in there and he was playing well. I think he was 4-1 as a starter, and there were some whispers from the defensive side of the ball of wanting him to, continue out that season. And I know that can happen. I think in the offensive side of the ball, I think you just want a guy that can go out there and give you the best chance to win. And that guy normally has got to rally the troops. That guy's normally got to get the trust of his teammates and the coaches alike. And normally that's probably what happens. I don't know how they feel in that locker room. I don't know if, they still look at Max as the leader. But I know Garrett is a true team guy. You see us throw a touchdown pass, he's going to be the first one in the end zone celebrating with the team. He's going to be the first one, pumping guys up. We score a big long run. He's running down the sideline losing his mind. So I know the guys probably definitely want to play for him. You saw that in the Ole Miss game. Those guys are trying to make plays. He was giving them chances to make plays. So I'm not exactly sure, but I know if that's the direction they're going to go in. I know Garrett's a real fiery kid who wants to win, and I'm sure they'll rally behind him.
So there's layers to this. One is how do the players react? How does Max Johnson react as the starting quarterback who knows he's coming out at some point in the first half and that the backup's going to play? Okay, well, that's something you've got to deal with. I think guys that come from football homes understand that. They come from coaching homes. They come from professional homes. They kind of understand that. I think it's more so the player who comes, it was just been the star their whole life. Their families always told them how great they are. Fans have always told them how great they are. Then having that situation maybe changes the dynamic a little bit. I think growing up in a football house like Max did, maybe better equipped to handle it. Of course, Garrett did too. So the question is, how does Max handle it? We'll see. It's difficult to go out there and know, okay, I turned this ball over. That may be it for me. Like that is a lot of pressure to put on a sophomore quarterback. And you've opened that door. Now, Ed Orgeron doesn't really care about next year. Now, I do think he probably cares about the kids and wants what's best for them and understands that wins and losses aren't the biggest thing for him. But maybe he thinks that Garrett Nussmeier deserves an opportunity based on what they've seen. But the question is, how do you think Garrett and Max will handle this mentally?
Man, I think Max will handle it fine. Obviously, he comes from a football pedigree. He knows the standard of play that you need to win at the highest levels, especially at the quarterback position. So I know he probably wants to have some of those throwbacks. He probably wants to have some of those plays back, but you can't get them back. And what that does is it opens the door for guys like Garrett to come in and make plays. And I'm sure Max understands that. Obviously, a lot of things haven't gone his way this year, especially with some of the hits he's taken. But I think for this program, I think at this point, you got to see what you have in Garrett. And a lot of people are saying, see what he has against ULM. I don't think that's going to answer the questions that you could find out in an SEC game with an Arkansas team who just got a big win. I think you got to throw him out there in the smoke. You got to see what he can do, see what he has. And if he plays well, then you ride this thing out with Garrett, and hopefully that can catch some fire heading in the bowl season.
I was ready for a rebuttal, and then you rounded out your thought, and it kind of it cleared things up because you got to see what you got. I mean, I get that for a first-year head coach who's losing and is trying to figure out who in his program can make it work. This is a guy on his way out. So finding out that Garrett Nussmeier is, a good option at quarterback doesn't really help him that much unless you're just talking about finishing the season strong. And if you think he's the best option to do so, I guess that does make sense. I just think the biggest thing I can pull from this is it puts an immense amount of pressure on both guys. And maybe that's good. Maybe they rise to the occasion and try to outplay one another, and it becomes positive. I worry more about the negative side where you turn the ball over, you think your time's done, so that makes you hesitant, gun-shy. You don't make the decisions you need to make, freewheel. We saw the way Max reacted last year when he was given the keys. He really was great, and I don't know how much pressure was on him then. You're taking over for a 3-5 team. This is too strong a word, but I'll use air quotes there. The quarterback failed. TJ Finley did not fail, but he was sat down and brought a new option in, and Max relished that. This is the exact opposite of that, and then Garrett gets this free chance here to go out there and see what he can do. You saw a lot of Garrett in camp. We've seen a ton of Max this year, and as recently his play just hasn't quite been up to the level we expected. What do you expect to see from Garrett Nussmeier when he comes in?
Man, I think that the first thing you notice, especially when you do a ton of watching Max and you see Garrett throw a couple passes, the ball just comes out of his hand. The ball comes out of his hand just differently. He has a lot more zip on his passes. I think the arm talent is just has a higher ceiling, and he can make those throws. He can make those cover two throws in the hole where you're running a go route on the outside and the safety's coming over. He can fit that ball in there, and I think that's something that this offense has really been missing. And the thing about Garrett, he's a gunslinger. Those big post routes, those big go routes that we have, the receivers on the outside, he's going to give those guys opportunity time and time again, and those are the plays he's going to be looking for. And obviously, I think he has a great rapport with Jack. I think those guys are going to be hooking up a lot. They spend a ton of time together all throughout their time here as Tigers. So I want to see it. I think at this point you've lost the amount of games that you thought would be unimaginable going into this season. So let's find out. Let's find out what Garrett is, what he has. Can he respond to the pressure? I think in an SEC game at home is the best time to do that. If this was a road game, I would not like the idea of it. But I think you're settled in Tiger Stadium. You got to have the home crowd behind you. It's a big game. I think playing Alabama the way we did last week gives a lot of people hope when this team, when no one had any type of hope. So I think it's a great opportunity to really see what you have, and I wouldn't be upset if he even started.
I guess the entire thing boils down from my perspective is do the quarterbacks determine, man, if I screw up, I lose my job, or man, this is a chance to win this job. Now, that's tough to get into that brain space if you're Max Johnson. Say, I can win this job. Well, it's been your job for a year and a half now. Garrett certainly can feel that way, but he could feel if he went out there and forced a ball and threw an interception that Max is going to come right back in, and maybe you've lost your opportunity. So it's just a matter of how you determine your mindset for the game. And I think that the quarterbacks are the two guys you got to think of first and foremost, but you also look at how it affects the team. And when they have a clear-cut leader, signal caller, guy to lean on, as opposed to flip-flopping back and forth and trying to get into a rhythm on offense.
Yeah, I think Tiger fans are all too familiar with that. We all remember 2011. You wish you didn't have two quarterbacks, but you kind of, one does something well, the other kind of doesn't do that quite as well, and you juggle back and forth. To me, I would love to just have a situation where you know who your guy is, and I think that's an opportunity that Garrett has in front of him. He knows if he goes out there and plays at a high level and they find a way to win that football game, it's his job, and that's just the way it's going to be. And obviously Max has had his opportunities, and he has a ton of time to grow and become a quarterback that we all think he can be. But the job, I think it's up for the grabs. I think it's up for the taking. If I'm Garrett, I'm licking my chops, and I don't think there's any pressure really. This team isn't on the verge of going to the playoff. Yeah. You're not battling for the SEC West.
Pressure's not team oriented. It's individual. This is my chance to become the starter.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect pressure for a quarterback in that situation. You see how he was. You saw those training camp practices. He's fired up. He's fiery. He has confidence in himself, and that's what I want to see in my quarterback. I don't want a guy that's second-guessing his decisions out there, wondering, if I messed up or, where should I be going with the ball. I think that's the one thing I did see. I know it was mop-up duty at Ole Miss. Garrett's firing that ball. That touchdown pass was, beautiful. I know it was in mop-up time, but he threw that ball in a small window on a rope in the back of the end zone. And those are throws that we just haven't seen this offense make all year. So he may, put the ball in harm's way a little bit, but I wouldn't be upset with that. I would want to see him, have, 25, 30 attempts and see where we lay at the end.
Now, your head coach at LSU would have gone to the podium on Wednesday and not said a word about this and just showed up Saturday with that being the plan. He was just not one to divulge injuries, personnel, any of that stuff was never going to come out in the media beforehand. And then he would just deal with it after. Ed has been very, very honest. Some would say to a fault. I personally don't really care that much, but he's been very, very honest with personnel all year long in this revolving door of players. He's given Arkansas now the opportunity to go check that Ole Miss tape and see what Garrett's got. Go back and look at the spring game and see what Garrett did. I mean, they've now got the ability to understand that he's coming in there. It won't be a surprise to them. Is that something you would have considered?
Yeah, I think for Coach O, I think
he does not care.
Yeah,
that's
his
very
mentality
obvious.
right now is just enjoy. You got a head coaching job in the SEC and enjoy this ride while you got it. I think that's where he's at with it right now, and can't be too upset with him getting fired midseason. But I think for Garrett, it's gonna be a great opportunity. I think. Obviously, watching this offense, I just keep seeing opportunities for guys down the field. Guys open, guys making plays. There's talent on this roster. You don't lose Alabama by one possession without having talent on your team, and maybe it's your B and C team, but that just goes to show the type of talent you can recruit in this state. And I think Garrett out there with his fiery leadership and his gunslinging ability, I want to see what he can do with this offense.